Good afternoon and welcome to another reading of Hatchet with Robert Teacher. So we're going to be continuing with pages 46 to 51 of Hatchet by Gary Paulson, where we will read along and look at some vocabulary as we go. We had kind of finished at the bottom of page 45 where it said nothing. Okay, so we're going to continue along and we are going to have some read along vocabulary as we go. Nothing. It kept coming back to that. He had nothing. Well, almost nothing. As a matter of fact, he thought, I don't know what I've got or haven't got. Maybe I should try and figure out just how I stand. It will give me something to do. Keep me from thinking of food until they come to find me. Brian had once an English teacher, a guy named Pripich, who was always talking about being positive, thinking positive, staying on top of things. That's how Pripich had put it. Stay positive and stay on top of things. Brian thought of him now, wondered how to stay positive and stay on top of this. All Pripich would say is that I have to get motivated. He was always telling kids to get motivated. So motivated. Dongi buyo. Provide someone with a motive for doing something. These people have an idea, they're motivated to take off and do the idea. So if Brian wants to succeed, he has to want to do it. He has to be motivated and have a reason to fight, to work. He needs to be motivated, okay? Brian changed positions, so he was sitting on his knees. He reached in his pockets and took out everything he had and laid it on the grass in front of him. It was pitiful enough. A quarter, 3 dimes, a nickel, and 2 pennies. A fingernail clipper, a billfold with a $20 bill in case you get stranded at the airport in some small town and have to buy food, his mother had said, and some odd pieces of paper. And on his belt, somehow still there, the hatchet his mother had given him. He had forgotten it, and now it reached around and took it out and put it in the grass. There was a touch of rust already forming on the cutting edge of the blade, and he rubbed it off with his thumbs. That was it. Rust. Rust is this reddish, yellow-brown, flaky coating that oxidizes and forms on iron, especially if there's a lot of water. Okay, so rust. So his hatchet, the blade, is getting a little rusty already from exposure to air and water and oxidization. Okay, rust. That was it. He frowned. No, wait. If he was going to play the game, might as well play it right. Pripich would tell him to quit messing around. Get motivated. Look at all of it, Robinson. He had on a pair of good tennis shoes, now almost dry, and socks, and jeans and underwear, and a thin leather belt, and a t-shirt with a windbreaker so torn it hung on him in tatters, and a watch. He had a digital watch still on his wrist, but it was broken from the crash, the little screen blank, and he took it off and almost threw it away, but stopped the hand motion and laid the watch in the grass with the rest of it there. That was it. No, wait, one other thing. Those were all the things he had, but he also had himself. Pripich used to drum into them. You are your most valuable asset. Don't forget that. You are the best thing you have. Brian looked around again. I wish you were here, Pripich. I'm hungry, and I'd trade everything I have for a hamburger. I am hungry. He said it aloud, in normal tones at first, then louder and louder, until he was yelling it I'm hungry, I'm hungry, I'm hungry. When he stopped, there was a sudden silence. Not just from him, but the clicks and blurps and birds and sounds of the forest as well. The noise of his voice had startled everything, and it was quiet. He looked around, listened with his mouth open, and realized that in all his life he had never heard silence before. Complete silence. There had always been some sound, some kind of noise. Silence, oyo, the complete absence of sound. So this is silence, not just not talking, but no sound. No car sound, no bug sound, no bird sound, no human sound, no anything. Actual complete silence. See page 48. It lasted only a few seconds, but it was so intense that it seemed to become part of him. Nothing. There was no sound. Then the birds started singing, and some kind of buzzing insect, and then a chattering and a cawing, and soon there was the same background of sound, which left him still hungry. Of course, he thought putting the coins and the rest back in his pocket, and the hatchet in his belt. Of course, if they come tonight, or even if they take as long as tomorrow, the hunger is no big thing. People have gone for many days without food as long as they've got water. Even if they don't come until late tomorrow, I'll be alright. Lose a little weight maybe, but the first hamburger and a malt and fries will bring it right back. A mental picture of hamburger, the way they showed it in the television commercials, thundered into his thoughts. Rich colors, the meaty juice, and hot. He pushed the picture away, so even if they didn't find him until tomorrow, he thought, he would be alright. He had plenty of water, although he wasn't sure if it was clean and good or not. He sat again by the tree, his back against it. There was a thing bothering him. He wasn't quite sure what it was, but it kept chewing at the edges of his thoughts. Something about the plane and the pilot. It would change things. Something's bothering him. While shunge, worried, disturbed, or upset someone. Something's bothering. Something in his mind has him worried, disturbed, upset. He's bothered by something. He's not quite sure what. Okay, let's continue. There it was. The moment when the pilot had his heart attack, and his right foot had jerked down on the rudder pedal, and the plane had slewed sideways. What did that mean? Why did that keep coming into his thinking that way, nudging and pushing? It means, a voice in his thoughts said, that they might not be coming for you tonight or even tomorrow. When the pilot pushed the rudder pedal, the plane had jerked to the side and assumed a new course. Brian could not remember how much it had pulled, but it wouldn't have had to be much because after that, with the pilot dead, Brian had flown for hour after hour on the new course, well away from the flight plan the pilot had filed. Flight path, being Goro. This is the planned course of an aircraft or spacecraft. When your plane leaves the airport, it has a plan of where it's going. And if you follow the plan, rescuers can find you. But the plane had changed its path because the pilot had pushed the rudder during his heart attack. So now the plane is off course. It's off the flight path. Many hours, and maybe 160 miles an hour, even if it was only a little off course. With that speed and time, Brian might now be sitting several hundred miles off to the side of the recorded flight plan, and they will probably search most heavily at first along the flight plan course. They might go out to the side a little bit, but he could easily be 300-400 miles to the side. He could not know, could not think of how far he might have flown wrong, because he didn't have the original course and didn't know how much they had pulled sideways. Quite a bit. That's how he remembered it. Quite a jerk to the side. It pulled his head over sharply when the plane had swung around. They might not find him for 2 or 3 days. He felt his heartbeat increase as the fear started. The thought was there, but he fought it down for a time, pushed it away. Then it exploded out. They might not find him for a long time. And the next thought was there as well, that they might never find him. But that was panic. He fought it down and tried to stay positive. They searched hard when a plane went down. They used many men in planes. They would go to the side, and they would know he was off from the flight path. He'd talk to the man on the radio. They would somehow know. It would be all right. They would soon find him. Maybe not tomorrow, but soon. Soon, soon. They would find him soon. Gradually, like sloshing oil, his thoughts settled back and the panic was gone. Gradually. Supposed to be in a gradual, slow degree. This is gradually growing, a little step at a time. This is when something happens very slow by degree. So he calmed down. He was excited and calm down, calm down, calm down. So gradually he calmed down. Okay. Say they didn't come for 2 days. No, say they didn't come for 3 days. Even push that to 4 days. He could live with that. He would have to live with that. He didn't want to think of them taking longer, but say 4 days. He had to do something. He couldn't just sit at the bottom of this tree and stare down at the lake for 4 days and nights. He was in deep woods and didn't have any matches. Couldn't make a fire. There were larger things in the woods. There were wolves, he thought, and bears, other things, in the dark. He would be in the open here, just sitting at the bottom of a tree. He looked around suddenly, felt the hair on the back of his neck go up. Things might be looking at him now, waiting for him, waiting for dark so they could move in and take him. He fingered the hatchet on his belt. It was the only weapon he had, but it was something. A finger is when you're touching something with your finger with the intent to action. If I'm touching the book, I intend to open it. If I'm touching my wallet, I intend to take something out. He's touching his hatchet, thinking he might have to use it as a weapon to fight. So he's fingering the hatchet. He had to have some kind of shelter. No, make them more. He had to have some kind of shelter, and he had to have something to eat. He pulled himself to his feet and jerked back of his shirt down before the mosquitoes could get at it. He had to do something to help himself. I have to get motivated, he thought, remembering Perpich. Right now, I'm all I've got. I have to do something. Okay. So that's the end of chapter 5. Let's do a little recap. Brian has realized he's all alone in the woods, and he gets really sad. He's depressed, he's sad, he's alone. He realizes there's no one else. Maybe no one is coming. Maybe there's no rescue. He's alone. Truly alone. He remembers his 6th grade teacher, Mr. Perpich, who told him to be positive in every situation. And he tries to think happy things. He tries to think happy thoughts, to get motivated, he can do it, he can fight. Brian lays out his belongings and takes an inventory. He has a hatchet, he has nail clippers, he has a broken watch, he has some wet paper, he has some coins and a $20 bill. Also, he has himself some tennis shoes, he has a belt, he has socks, he has a windbreaker, he has a shirt. Okay? That's his inventory, the things he has on him. Okay? After that, he realizes he's alone and no one is coming for him. The plane veered off its flight path. People are not going to be coming to look and save Brian, because he could be hundreds of miles, hundreds of kilometers away from the flight path. The airplane is underwater. They're not going to be able to see it. They'd have to be able to see Brian from an airplane. It's very possible they can't. Okay, so let's look at our vocabulary one more time. We have motivated, provide someone with a motivation for doing something, give them a reason to do something. I have an idea and now I'm motivated, I'm ready to go. Rust, the reddish or yellow-brown flake covering iron oxide that is formed on iron or steel by oxidation, especially in the presence of moistures. It's wet and then it gets rusty. Silence, absence of sound. There's nothing. Bothering, worry, disturb or upset someone. Flight path, the actual or planned course that the airplane should be flying. Okay? This is their plan. We'll go from A to B. Gradually, in a gradual way, slowly. Small steps, a little more, a little more, a little more, a little more, more. Gradually, slowly, by small steps. Finger touching something with the intent to do something. Okay, that's it. The end. See you next time. Thanks for watching.